I had no idea what the hell I was doing when I first had a baby, right? And I didn't expect that it was going to be that hard in that way. And as I get older, I don't expect that it's going to be, I expect it's going to get easier and it gets hard in a different way. Mm-hmm. And, but it is interesting prior to you recording is that I appreciate the moments of those cycles of when I get into those pieces of self growth where I get to have that space and it's like it kind of cracks me open and I get to kind of grow in a different way. And so many of the different ways that I've grown, I know I don't I don't think I would have grown that way or this, and thought about and or experienced life in that certain way if I hadn't been a mom.
Welcome to the How It Feels to Be a Mother podcast, where we dive into the emotional complexities and varied experiences of motherhood. I'm your host, Sarah Broberg. This judgment-free zone is a place where mothers can express their authentic feelings and experiences as whole human beings. In each episode, we'll explore the catalyst question at the heart of this movement. How does it feel to be a mother? Through engaging discussions with mothers from diverse backgrounds from around the world, we'll explore the complexity of emotions along the continuum of motherhood. Join us as we speak with mothers from all walks of life, from those with infants to those with adult children, uncovering the vast emotional continuum of motherhood. Whether you find motherhood to be a blessing or a challenge or somewhere in between, sometimes all at once, this podcast is here to validate your feelings and to break the stigma, shame, and guilt that can often accompany maternal experiences. Tune in and be a part of a movement that empowers mothers to embrace the emotional depths of what it really feels like to be a mother. Join the conversation. Welcome to today's episode, where we delve into the emotional complexities of motherhood with our guest, Monica. During our conversation, we explore the intense emotions and challenges that come with parenting, the personal growth it fosters, and the fears and realities of motherhood that differ vastly from her expectations. Monica shares how finding a supportive community has been crucial in navigating the complexities of motherhood. This episode is packed with insights on emotional well-being, child rearing, and maternal support networks. Join us as we explore these deep and relatable themes, offering a candid look into the true experiences of how it feels to be a mother.
Female, she, her, 44, going on 45, married currently, and living with my husband, not necessarily always well. And then I have two boys. One is 7. Him, God, I'm like his, her, like he's yeah. He. Mm-hmm. And then another boy, age 3.
Okay.
He.
Thank you. Okay, here's the question. Okay. So the question is, how does it feel to be a mother?
Terrifying is my first word. My son's literally sitting next to me because he has no school and he likes to be near me when he's. And I didn't know I was going to have to be vulnerable, but I'm not going to tell him to go away.
We can reschedule.
No.
Okay.
Proud and but I will say that 7 years in and being a mother that became a mother at 37 is, very much still mourning the loss of everything that I was without children. And hoping, I'm in a space where it's just hard because they need me all the time. And I'm excited about when my kids are as old as yours. And I'm also terrified that I'm going to be in that same space. Like am I, maybe I'm an Enneagram 4, but I'm like, I'm always unsatisfied or I always feel like I'm missing out. And a lot of people have that, like, I don't feel like I'm, like they're like, I don't feel like I'm a good enough mother or things like that. Like, I mean, I know like there's times that I suck at it, but I'm okay with feeling that. And, but I constantly miss out on, I feel like when I miss out on when I'm not a mother, and I'm terrified that when they get older and don't need me, that I'm not going to know what to do with myself. Mm. So your question is, how does it feel to be a mother? I don't really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I love them. It's hard.
Does it feel like you thought it would?
I don't know. I remember really, really wanting to be pregnant. And moments feel that way. But I don't think I ever really thought about what it was going to feel like. And I think that now that I think about it, is I think I'm constantly not thinking about how I feel. And I'm thinking about how I feel, but I'm like, I feel like I'm constantly kind of monitoring, especially when I sound like a nagging, horrible parent and loathing everything about me. Like, it's almost like I like leave my body and watch. And I don't know. So no. Because yeah, no. It doesn't feel like the way I thought it would be. I don't even think I knew what I thought I would feel.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. God, this is crazy. Anyway, keep going. If you can keep asking more questions.
Yeah. Has it changed over time?
I think so. I mean, what I'm most impressed by is, of course it's changed over time. I mean, especially with like, I had no idea what the hell I was doing when I first had a baby, right? And I didn't expect that it was going to be that hard in that way. And as I get older, I don't expect that I expect it's going to get easier and it gets hard in a different way. Mm-hmm. But it is interesting prior to you recording is that I appreciate the moments of those cycles of when I get into those pieces of self-growth where I get to have that space and it's like it kind of cracks me open and I get to kind of grow in a different way. And so many of the different ways that I've grown, I know I don't think I would have grown that way or this, and thought about and or experienced life in that certain way if I hadn't been a mom, including just like how productive as I am as a person. I joke all the time with people about when they ask me how I managed to do all this and that. And I'm like, oh, you don't realize until you're a parent how much time you actually really have, even if you feel time deprived as a parent. I still feel time abundant in some cases in even 10 minutes that abundance of 10 minutes is greater than that 10 minutes than it was before, and so, over time, yeah, it just little small things stack up. And so, yeah, it changes over time. And I think it's interesting. What's most interesting to me is it's not just like the personal growth, but it's like the survival growth that I have, like all of the weird little things I do. And I think about it like how type A I am now. And it's all because I was trying to survive as a young mom and get really efficient at things. So I could, um, it feels primal in that way, like the way that I survive as a type A mom. Like I'm surviving. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does, because I'm a type A too.
But so much of the tendencies that I have in the way is just like I'm trying to get things to work for me a certain way. And so to others, it seems very structured and rigid in certain ways, but it's like I've got like a well-oiled machine and it's all just so I can survive. Yeah.
What's your favorite part about how it feels to be a mom?
I absolutely love it when they sleep. I as much as it can be hard sometimes, I still love it when they sleep near me. And I like the forced quiet that it brings. And I like that they force me sometimes to rest, even though they exhaust me. But like, I learned how to nap. And and I fight it sometimes. But I mean, honestly, it's like they force me to go against the busyness that I want to occupy myself with sometimes. That sounds really weird, but
no, not weird at all. I think we're kind of two peas in a pod in a way. Like, I really have to like force myself to like be present. That's one of the things I'm working on, and to just be a human being, not a human doing. That is like, that's really the impetus for this growth that I'm doing right now, because I'm an achiever. I'm an Enneagram 3. It's like inherent to who I am, and it's not serving me anymore.
Yep.
And I'm having to relearn how to like actually like exist in the world. And that's really hard. And I don't want to be on the treadmill anymore. Like, I can't keep doing this. I can't. It's not good for me. It's not good for my family. It's not good for my relationships. And it's so hard because it's so hardwired. Because I'm the type that, I'm constant. I'm only as good as the last thing that I accomplished. And there's this giant black hole and it never gets full. All of the accomplishments, they just go to this endless pit and it's never enough. No matter what anybody else tells me, because that's up to me to decide. And I'm telling my own self that it's never enough. And so part of this is working through figuring out how I can be enough for myself. So then I can be enough for the people around me. And that's, that's the real root of what I'm doing. I haven't even gotten into that with anybody, but that's the real work. And it's, anytime we do this work, it's the hardest things that we do. And it's also the most rewarding, but it's so messy and it's so fraught and it's so scary.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
And it's hard. I mean, I go back and forth between whether I'm an Enneagram 3 or 4. And I feel like I've been going through a crisis about whether I am a 3, actually, quite honestly, which I think I am. I mean, part of me thinks I'm a 4, but I've learned to just be a 3 it is a distraction of survival. It feels very, I feel like that's a very Enneagram 3 thing to be like, I'm full of emotions, but I'm just hollow at the same time. Like I care for people, but I'm just like, it feels really shallow. Like, like I still would rather get shit done,
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't, you're right. I'm only as good as like the thing that I've done. Um, I did some, sorry, I'm crying. I told you I was going to be
No,
raw.
this is real. This is the real
I did
stuff.
so I did this, I do this occasionally. I do this like seminar, and I did this one that was like called Empower Your Intention. And, so my intention this time was about being more joyful and adventurous. And we kind of have to deal with like our doom beliefs, right? As part of this is like without the work. And then what I realized was, it was something along the lines of, if I'm having fun, I'm not productive. And if I'm not productive, then like I don't have a purpose, like I'm not worth anything. And so my goal this year, my intention is very much about having fun and, trying to do that, like, or doing that. And it's fucking, excuse my language, Peter, it's ridiculous that is hard for me.
No, it's not ridiculous at all. Don't discount yourself. That is absolutely
no. I mean, like,
thing.
I know it is. I know it is. But I'm just like trying to tell you, it's like I feel seen by what you just said, and I just took my kid to Dave and Buster's, and I did my best to have fun, and I think I did. I was still like obsessing about how much money everything cost, and
right. Yeah.
How that $40 could be going towards the floors that I want to refinish in my house, but like,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think I thought that I'd be a fun mom, but I'm actually just still who I am, which is like not fun.
Like what you're hearing? We'd love your feedback. Please leave a review.
For me, I think I have been doing this work over these past few months about like to try to get to the root of my like achiever tendencies. Mm-hmm. And what I have figured out is that, because I have an amazing therapist, that I have abandonment issues, which I've known for years and years. But I have abandonment issues, and that the way that I cope is I try to do everything for everyone so that they won't leave me. And so that means that I'll do all your laundry, or I'll do all the dishes, or I'll clean the house, and I'll do the things, and I'll run all the errands and everything so that you all don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. I'm making your life so much easier. Look at all the things that I'm doing. And you don't even have to acknowledge it, right? I'm just doing them so that your life will be easier. But what my dear family has pointed out to me is that I'm not really happy doing all those things, and I get pissed off, and then I come home and I'm like a bitch because I've had to do all these things, even though I feel compelled. And so I'm actually like creating this like almost like a self-fulfilling thing, right? Because then I'm trying to do all the things, but then I'm not happy doing all the things. And then I'm putting that on them, and then they're not happy because we're not happy. And then it makes them want to like go away. And it's just like, holy shit. Like, look at this cycle that's like been created. And it's been like horrifying and illuminating at the same time.
So I'll tell you a little story based off of that. Just so I was gone for work all last week. I had my first week-long trip away from my family for a week, and it was like a conference, so it was pretty intense. So it's like I was really legit busy, like barely had time to like do anything because it's just one of those intense work things. But and I did all of the things. I made the lists, and I like meal prepped and did all these things to get ready for, so my husband could be successful with our two kids and grandma who helps but doesn't help, right? I did all that. I got home on Friday night and my phone is blowing up on it. But anyway, I got home on Friday night at 6:00. And then of course it was like the next day we had to drive to Illinois. I live in Michigan, and to go to his niece's family, her graduation party. And of course I got up and I took care of the kids and I hand made a card for her because my husband gripes about how expensive Hallmark cards are or whatever. And then we get home back home at 11:00 at night, and I let the kids sleep with us. And the next morning we had agreed that we were going to go strawberry picking. This is yesterday. And, all I could think about was all the laundry I had to do, all the shit that I had to do to catch up yesterday, and how we were going to, my husband was taking a shower. We were going to go strawberry picking. And I was stewing about how he was taking really long. And we got in the car and we were driving to strawberry picking. And I was still stewing about how I had to do 45 minutes per extra. And he says, "Do you have any idea that it's Father's Day?"
Mm. Mm.
And I didn't.
Yeah.
That's how consumed I was with being productive.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't even aware, it's just like that level of I'm doing all the things so everyone can, feel comfortable. And then I can't even say Happy Father's Day because I didn't even know it was happening, So that's what it's like to be a mom.
Yeah. I have a very similar, I'm so sorry. That sucks so bad. And I know,
no.
But I have so many similar stories to that. Yeah. I'm surprised my partner Joey is still with me. He ditched me a long time ago. He's like, "You're a mess. I leave you. I can't." And you got 2 teens? Nope, I'm good. There was a time I had such a same thing. I had this crazy week-long event. It was like a big conference. It's basically a conference.
Yeah.
And I was one of the organizing people, and it was all consuming. It was super stressful. It's just super sucked. It was just a grind, from 7 in the morning to 10 at night, back to back to back days.
Yep.
I was working myself to death. I actually got sick. I got dehydrated. I got super sick as a brunch for the final thing. And it was Joey's birthday.
Oh.
And I hadn't got him a card. I hadn't got him a gift. And I was sick. I was and I had to go straight to bed. I mean, yeah, I know exactly. I know exactly that. It's so, yeah. There are lots of us out there.
I know. I know. But I mean, just when you were saying, I was it's to the point where it's we're too busy doing our thing to prove that we're important to our families that we miss none of that mattered.
Important things. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. None of it mattered.
Mm-hmm. So we talked about one of your favorite things or some favorite things about how it feels to be a mom. What are some of the things that concern you about what it feels like to be a mom?
Screwing up my kids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm a lot like my dad, where, he's just, kind of that workaholic, didn't rest, but I think he was more of an Enneagram 7. So anyway, different kind of, And I just, feel bad all the time that like I'm, like that all they want is for me to like play with them. And that's like the hardest thing for me to do.
Mhm.
Like what they need most from me, I have a hard time giving them, and like that, like kind of, it's like that I don't want anyone to need me at the same time. I don't like being needed. And I'm so that was a choice that I made. I made a choice to have people need me.
Mhm.
And the ways that they need me are, I didn't expect that I would have such a hard time providing that, you know?
Mm.
I felt, I felt like I could take care of them. I could cook for them. I could do things. I could be with them, as you said.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really, really struggling with that right now because they're teenagers and they don't need me to do things for them as much, but they
Mhm.
need me to be there. And like the nature of our relationship is changing and they need me to be more of like a, a friend, like a peer. I'm really struggling with that. And it's doubly hard because their dad is like their their friend. And I'm just like, oh my God. It's just I'm so grateful at the same time that they have that and that he's present and that he's playing that role. And I'm just like, really? Like, of all the friends you're going to have, like him? Really? It's it's a strange dynamic. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like when my son, who's with me, was a baby, I used to tell him like we're gonna travel to Paris together someday. Like you're gonna be my best friend. Like like we're gonna do things, and I'm terrified that he's not going to want to do those things with me because I wasn't able to be with him.
Mm.
Like, and then I'm concerned that when at the time when they need that, when I can be with them, that I'm going to be out of practice. Like I didn't work that muscle the correct way, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like talking to like, I mean, I don't know if it's like, where we just met, but I'm like, oh, like I feel like I'm talking to my future self. It's like
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
including whether I decide to stay with my husband or not. So.
That's a whole nother thing. Mm-hmm. That could be a whole nother conversation. Yeah.
Which I just talked to a therapist and set up an appointment, right? That was actually why I had to move my appointment with you, was because I had like a consult to set up with somebody. So,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What surprises you about what it feels like to be a mom?
I mean, I think that like anything is, I think what surprises me is that I do feel like all of the struggles that I have with being a mom, that it feels empowering because it feels like I chose this to happen and I chose, and like I'm quite proud that, and that's what I mean by pride, like that, like I can tell that they're there to do things to help me grow and provide these experiences. Like that's what they're giving to me. And it's, of course I'm fighting tooth and nail. Same with my husband. I'm like, God, like, what if what if this is all about me just learning to be a more compassionate person? Like that's been a pretty powerful thing, especially like I was reading You're Not a Shitty Parent by Carla Naumberg earlier this year. It's a lot of it's about really honestly about self-compassion and compassion for others. And like That's what surprised me most is that I thought I was a compassionate person before I had kids, but I realized that now I'm actually very selfish and that they are really pushing me to learn how to be more compassionate. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I was compassionate for others, but always with like, you know, at arm's length. And now it's like, I have to be compassionate for people that are driving me nuts, that are very close to me, that are not going to go away. And so that's what's surprising and delightful is like the journey of self growth is like very in my face.
Mm.
Um, and I know that I'm glad that I'm doing that work. You know, like I'm glad that I'm aware of it. Like I know that it's very easy to like, you know, just be a suffering mom, I guess, and not be aware, you know. And I'm thankful that it's also brought relationships with other mothers and that I've been able to talk to about these types of things as well. That's been really cool.
Well, that actually is a perfect setup for my next question, which
Okay.
is, are there people in your life with whom you talk about what it feels like to be a mom?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm not shy about it and as a result, it's that I feel like I can find those. I attract that. I attract good other support communities because I am willing to just be vulnerable and honest about how it's hard. I mean, I'm still generally like I try to be optimistic and not a complete downer, but I'm generally pretty open, and that's where a lot of mothers have thanked me for that because I've created that experience for them. It's also been where, you know, even when I was like when I had a kid, like, you know, random people that I knew that were once my friends, you know, kind of befriended me because they didn't enjoy the dark side of motherhood being shared with them, especially as they were, you know, um, but they're on their journey, and if that's what they needed to do to get by with that. But I would say that by and large, I don't feel isolated as a mom. I feel like I've always been pretty good about finding the right network. And, you know, that's another reason why I definitely started my podcast a little bit is I'm because I'm honest. And I think that there's a lot of people, it's very easy to, you know, you can see the sarcastic mom on Instagram or the, you know, but there's always a level of funny, and it's always there's some monetization or influencer component to it, right? And I just want people to not feel okay with the fact that they think that motherhood sucks sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
I mean, that's one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about this particular project that I'm working on too, because I mean, I, I've had so many conversations with moms, and they say, you know, how it feels to be a mom really kind of sucks. A lot of the time, it kind of really sucks. And they feel really bad about saying that. Like, oh, it's probably not normal. It's not this. I'm like, no, 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 no. Hold on. This is, however you're feeling is completely normal. Like, I want us to have more conversations like this so that, because it can be really isolating. And a lot of the moms I've talked to also don't have people in their lives that they talk to about how it feels to be a mom. They talk about like the logistics. They talk about like the funny anecdotes. They talk about like the good recommendations for the this, that, and the other thing, but like not like how we actually feel as women and as mothers.
Yeah. 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 No, I mean, like, no, I think that there's a balance, right? Sometimes between being willing to be vulnerable and kind of know it sucks, and also at the same time being accepting of it and and not ashamed of that, I do my best to not be ashamed of the fact that I feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah,
because damn, it's hard. Like,
yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, is there anything that we haven't talked about how it feels to be a mom that you think that we should?
I mean, I think that it's interesting. I'll just kind of close with, one thing I reflect on. This is something I wrote in my book, is that when I was becoming a mom, I was obsessed with asking people about what their birth story was like. And I feel like that's what like people obsess about, like when they're pregnant or when they're waiting for their children, is like what their birth story is going to be like in the labor. And but what like nobody talks about, like, or at least like, I don't know, maybe I just wasn't ready or willing to listen if somebody was telling me this, is like that is so like, that is like 2 to 20 hours of your life. Whereas like the real labor is like begins the moment that that child comes in, and like the labor of what goes on up here, that personal growth, and that's the labor,
Mm-hmm.
So I should probably, when people ask me about my labor, I'll say, well, yeah, my labor's so far lasted 7 years.
It's so funny.
How long was your labor? Oh, about 7 years so far. Still going on.
It's funny when I ask, like, is it that the question of, does it feel like you thought it would? Every mother that I've interviewed so far, except one, said that they didn't really think about it. Isn't that something?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that something?
It is.
I mean, this is.
I think that's biological, though. I think that's on purpose.
You would never procreate, right?
No. When people ask me, I'm pretty honest. I was like, if you're honestly really on the fence about children, if you really are like 100% not sure, like if you're like, oh, maybe, I'm like, it may not be for you, because like I was one of those people who was going to be okay if it didn't happen. And I think that's why I struggle so much with it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I felt very fulfilled, or figured, well, maybe, who knows, Enneagram 3, like I was doing things that made me feel falsely fulfilled for like 3 seconds. And I was able to just keep, do that, but yeah, I mean, that's what I tell people, because yeah, you don't really think about it. And I think that biology has something to do with it. I hate to say that motherhood is a club, but I feel like it's, you really don't know until you don't know.
Learn more about how it feels to be a mother by visiting howitfeelstobeamother.com and following us on our socials. Please join the conversation. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on this podcast, including those of the host and guests, are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of any entity they represent. Appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The content presented is solely for general informational, educational, and entertainment purposes. The use of information provided on this podcast or materials linked from the podcast or website is at the user's own risk. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical or mental health condition they may have,
and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions.